Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Familiar Faces. I'm Elon Thiessen, and joining me today is coming off of a historic season with the Bobcats. From kick return to slot receiver, all the way to running back, he's done it all. Please help me welcome the Bobcat Swiss Army knife, Marky Johnson.
I'd first like to thank you for coming on the show, but I'd also like to congratulate you on a spectacular first season with the Bobcats.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you had an amazing first season with the Cats, but you've been on quite a journey.
I had, yeah.
And so you graduated from one of Arizona powerhouses, Saguaro High School in Arizona, which is a very dominating program, but it seems like it kind of started in Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
So would you consider yourself a Philly kid at heart?
Born and raised, absolutely.
So when I think of Philadelphia, I think of tough, energetic, and I just think that they're just such motivated people. How would you say that Philadelphia kind of not only shaped you as a person, but as an athlete?
Just being tough, like you said, being gritty, not taking no for an answer. We out here to, do a job, and I gotta get my job done. So whoever in the way, they gotta get ran over. Simple as that.
So you started in Philadelphia, but could you take us through the journey all the way from Philadelphia to Saguaro High School?
Like I said, born and raised in Philadelphia. I actually attended Penn Charter High School my freshman year, and then we was just trying to get out the city. So we was, I guess, chasing opportunities, you could say, better opportunities. I feel like at the time, for what I see, high school football was major on the South and the West Coast. So we figured, why not put myself in the best, opportunity or best position to chase my dream. We landed on Arizona, ended up in Scottsdale. That's where I attended Chaparral High School my sophomore year, my junior year. And then after my junior year, transferred to Saguaro, and the rest is history.
And you went with your dad, Ron, right?
Yes, sir.
And how much support has he offered you through this whole football process?
I mean, he was the one that got me into football originally, so he's been my biggest supporter. I don't know where I'd be without him.
So you came to Saguaro, though, your senior year, correct?
Yes, sir, yeah.
And you played your final 7 games there, and you won a championship.
Yeah.
So Coach Jason Mons, he was quite an influential person in your life.
For sure. When it comes to ball, just his mindset, his scheme, he was able to utilize me in a way that was able to, I was able to showcase my talents. So he's a mastermind, honestly. I can't thank him enough. He played a major role in my success, I feel like, as far as, being able to put film on, on tapes, college coaches and stuff that was coming to recruit me and stuff. So, I give a lot of thanks to him, for sure.
And, Saguaro, they've developed quite a bit of dominant players. In fact, some went to the professional level. And you guys won 6 straight championships, and you got to be a part of that last one in 2018. Describe that for us.
That was a blessing, especially coming from where I was coming from, as far as looking at not being able to play my senior season at all. So I feel like with me, keeping my head down and being resilient was the reason I was able to, I guess, taking all those fruits of my labor, I guess you could say.
How did he prepare you for the collegiate level?
I would say from showing up on time, put me in a position to where he was holding me to a higher standard. And then when it came to practice and, my athletic ability, like just not accepting mediocre, especially with me going against Keely Ringo, guys like Jacoby Covington, these dudes are D1 talents. So I was going against, some top dogs every day. So just wanting to play for him, I guess you could say, I didn't want to be a bum for Jason Mons at all. And the competition that we had every day in practice was a reason why I'm so competitive now. It's just like, I just want to win.
And back in 2018, he said there's 3 dynamic players that he's coached, and he said 2 of them are in the NFL. Obviously, the last person he was using to describe you was you. Mm-hmm. So how did that make you feel hearing such words from such a prolific coach like that?
It was good. It felt good, especially knowing that, the stuff that I'm doing on the field is getting his attention in a good way. You always want to perform for your coaches. But just hearing that come out of his mouth was a blessing to me. Because I never had anybody talking to me like that other than my father, just believing in my dream to go to the NFL. So hearing him compare me to NFL caliber talent was just an eye-opener for me. Like, you have a chance, you have a shot, and the only person that can get in the way is you.
So after you graduated, obviously you got quite a bit of offers. How did he and your father kind of influence you, and how many college programs gave you some offers?
I don't really remember the number off the top of my head. It wasn't necessarily a lot. In my opinion, just, me believing in myself, I feel like I was under-recruited. I do feel like the AIA situation with me having to miss 7 games played a little part. I got to hold myself accountable with my grades as well. If they was probably better or, 4.0, 3.0. would have been better.
What college programs were you seriously considering after high school?
So it came down South Dakota State. Well, University of Mary, which is in North Dakota.
Yeah.
A Division II school. They was the first school to reach out and offer me a scholarship. So that was a good thing for me because I was seeing a lot of dudes get offers and just to feel like we want to offer you a scholarship to come play here. That was a blessing for me. And then South Dakota State came right after that, and that was major. That was my first Division I offer. So looking up the history of South Dakota State, the success they've had, for them to believe in me and want to pull the trigger on me, that was cool. Sacramento State was also on the list as far as schools that offered me. Idaho as well, and New Mexico State. If I'm missing some others, I apologize, but I think that was it.
And Coach Beal, was he on the coaching staff for South Dakota State?
He was, I believe, at that time. I think he was.
And so you ended up committing to Sacramento State. And so what kind of sold you on that program?
The scheme, hearing about Coach Taylor with his offense and the success he had with Cooper Kupp at Eastern Washington, Kendrick Bourne, who was also at Eastern Washington. So, just the stat that he had coming in, a lot of Pac-12 guys, he, sold me on, throwing the ball. At the time, I was playing slot receiver. So I just wanted to be in an offense where I could, thrive and potentially, rack up enough yards to where I can get some looks from scouts.
And so on July 2nd, 2022, you announced a transfer to Montana State. What kind of sold you on joining the Bobcats? What made you kind of want to transfer?
In all honesty, out of all the schools that I was in contact with throughout the portal, Montana State was the only ones that was serious about, throwing some money at me, which at the time wasn't necessarily super big focus of mine. I was just trying to find an opportunity to where I could earn a scholarship, I guess.
Right.
I just wanted to be on the team and start over and just figure it out. But they came through kind of last minute. I was actually getting prepared to leave and, set myself on another school, but they came through and said, listen, we do, have some money available to where we want to offer you a scholarship if you, want to come here. And I came on a visit. I appreciated the transparency from the coaches, from the jump. I was transparent about, my reason for transferring and, holding myself accountable for the mistakes that I made. It was almost like just a second chance at life. So they just made me feel at home when I got here. And I know that's cliche, but that's how it felt at the time. Like, I just felt at home. I was sold on how they wanted to utilize me. And as you can see throughout the season, they found a way to use me. So I don't think they lied not one time.
Who would you say played a big factor in recruiting you? How much did they recruit you on that process?
I feel like, as an offensive staff and as a staff, everybody played a part, from Coach Mix, Coach Judy, who's the receiver coach, Coach Bill, the running back coach, even the head coach, Brent Vegan, and the OC, Taylor Osright. So they all played a serious role, a collective role. It wasn't necessarily me talking to one coach only and having a couple messages here and there from the other coaches. Like, we was on the phone every day talking about something, and they was always checking in, making sure I had, everything I need to get done so I can get out there. I'd say the entire staff as a whole was in touch with me.
So before you came into contact with Montana State, how much knowledge did you have about Montana and Montana State?
The state of Montana I wasn't necessarily familiar with, but I was very aware of Montana State and the University of Montana, especially with 2019. I heard a lot about them. Sac State had played Montana at the time, and at that time Montana, of course, was ranked, and I heard that they was like a powerhouse of the FCS, Big Sky, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, these are top dogs. Pretty much the Alabama of FCS, I guess you could say, is what I took it as from what I heard at the time. So I was definitely aware of Montana State as well, just the success they've had, just, competing and stuff. And, of course, the rivalry, I've heard about the rivalry. At the time, I wasn't aware of how big it was, especially with me being from Philadelphia and then going to California. But, yeah, no, that rivalry was a big deal. So.
And when did you first step foot on campus?
My first time stepping foot on campus was July 11th, I believe, is when I actually moved into Bozeman. I moved into my apartment and had to get, my physical done, some information and stuff like that, to sure everything is in order. So, I July 11th.
And so when you first came to your first practice, what did they tell you about, like, Montana State and the program, and what did they kind of tell you what they wanted from you?
After the recruitment process, it was pretty much down to business. Like, this is how we want to use you, and this is your opportunity. They didn't really sell me anything. It wasn't necessarily any more talks, I guess you could say. But they was definitely holding me to a higher standard. Like, this is what you need to do in order to compete. The job is open for everybody. Like, it's not even the kick return spot. Like, I had a good year last year at kick return, but if anybody wants to take that spot, it's more than open. So I just got to make sure I keep my head down and maintain that. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it wasn't really nothing to be said. It was like we both had an understanding. I feel like that's why we kind of meshed so well. We both know what needs to be done at the end of the day. So, yeah, they was just holding me to a higher standard. Like, this is what you need to be successful here, and let's rock out, see what you can do.
So that actually leads me to my next point. So you're listed as a slot receiver, but it really seemed like when you made your debut, you really started to raise some eyebrows with your kick returns.
Yes, sir.
And so a lot of people see the kick returns and, they see the final product. But for those of us, including myself, that doesn't really know much that goes into a kick return. Mm-hmm. Could you take us through an average play of a kick return and kind of some of the X's and O's of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully, not hopefully, I'm not gonna say too much about what we got going on.
Right, absolutely, but general stuff.
Yes, sir, absolutely. But I know a lot of people think that I guess watching on TV, you see the kick returner who has the ball and think that it's just a one man show. He's out there, making it happen. But you need all 11 guys to get the job done. So every man has a person, I guess, to block. He's accountable for somebody. So if they get their job done, I just got to follow my blocker, which is Snell at the time, and RJ Fitzgerald. Those are the first two guys that I'm interacting with as far as trying to follow the blocks and see what's open. So, but yeah, everybody's accountable for somebody. It's not a one man show.
Right.
I couldn't do it by myself. Now, play might break down, and that's when you need the athletic ability to get out of some situations. But even then, guys are still blocking to make sure that the defenders aren't chasing you still. So that kick return stuff is a team effort. So yeah, like I said, all 11 guys are accountable for somebody. Usually it's me against the kicker, which is frowned upon if you get tackled by the kicker. So I make sure that never happens.
So when I first saw you, the first word that came to mind was speed. When it comes to kick returns, how much would you say you kind of rely on speed, and how much would you rely on strategy?
I'd say it's 80-20. 80% strategy, 20% speed, because the strategy will set you up for you to, find holes. And once you find that hole, it's just time to get loose. And that's where the speed comes in. So speed is definitely important, of course, in the game of football. But when it comes to kick returns and stuff like that, you want to have a plan drawn up. You might want to sell something that they've seen previously, and you kind of, kick it the opposite, or go the opposite way, I should say. Usually I kind of try to tempo it because I don't want to go too fast and outrun my blockers, or go too fast and miss an opening hole, or something like that. So usually I take off fast to where I can kind of get the play going, kind of read where I'm going, throttle down a little bit just to see what my next cut is, what my next move is, and once I see open grass, I'm out.
Coach Vegan actually said in a press conference, he said the year before you came, they kind of, I wouldn't say struggled, but, they were kind of going through different types of people at kick return. But he said that, when they added you to the team, they felt like they had more of a stable kick return. What would you say to that?
I'm not too familiar with the history of Montana State's kick returners, but it feels good to hear that, because that's what I wanted to be for the team, especially when I was able to win that job. It was a big pressure on my shoulders, I would say, because coming from not playing at all and then just getting a starting spot on the field at all, it's just a big upgrade in life, a big change. So just to be able to be that guy that the team can count on was big for me. And that's why I wanted to come here. That's what I wanted to do.
So you're doing kick returns and you're doing some slot receiver work. But then, when the injuries started to pile up at the running back position, could you describe to us, kind of a little bit of the transition that it came from being a slot receiver and then kick returner and now becoming a running back for the team?
No, absolutely. So the OC, Taylor Houseworth, actually picked up the phone, called me, and said, listen, I want to, if you could come in and we sit down and talk about something. I was like, yes, sir. So came through and he was like, listen. Now, obviously, with the injuries, I knew about it. He was super polite about it. It wasn't just like, this is the position you'll play, and, that's that. He was, I guess, trying to fill me out as far as, how I felt about the situation. Because I definitely had a position change at Sac State. It wasn't bad. It was mutual. But I was a receiver at heart, so I ended up coming back. But he was super genuine in his approach and was like, listen, we've seen what you could do at running back. We've seen your clips from high school and stuff like that. I'd like you to, help us out in that position. If you're down for the challenge, then I feel like we can make something happen. So I accepted that role. It really wasn't going to be a no either way. This is something that I know needs to happen for the team. So I accepted that, challenge and what came with that. And like you've seen, good things can happen.
Some of the adjustments you had to make, when you're a slot receiver, you have a lot of room to work with. How was the process of kind of going from someone that kind of had some open space to, it came down to a lot more, X's and O's, and, you got a lot more to work with in terms of when you're running?
No, my first position was running back. So I didn't play slot receiver until my junior year of high school. So I had a lot of experience at running back, and being able to go back to that position in college was like, okay, I might be able to make something, seriously happen with this. And I guess I came in kind of cocky anyway, because I played the position before, so I know how to read the holes and stuff like that, but it was completely different. It was a shock. It was like learning a whole new position, which made me uncomfortable because this position I played all my life. But going from slot receiver to running back, it was different, but at the end of the day, I'm an athlete. I can play football, I can play any position. So it wasn't too hard of an adjustment, but from a strategic standpoint and playbook standpoint and just knowing your steps, your reads and stuff like that, it was challenging.
One of the unique things I found, so obviously when you took the field at running back, you looked ready to go. However, it's not very common that with your guys' team, it seemed like whoever they threw at running back, everybody looked ready to go. How much would you credit that kind of success to Coach Beal?
You got to give it all to him, because at the end of the day, he's the one that's running the running back. He's the one that's in charge of how we operate, how we think. how he moved, on campus and off campus. So I give a lot of praise to him as far as how he spoke to us, how he got things through to us, how he got techniques and how to read lanes and holes and stuff like that. Like he definitely took the time to, if you were struggling with something, he took the time to get you to understand it. Now, of course, we understood that he's not going to spend too much time because it's next man up, but just his leadership is amazing. Every running back in that room respects him a lot.
One word, Cal Poly. Does that game ring a bell to you?
Yes, sir, it does.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to ring that bell a little bit more here. 242 yards, 4 touchdowns, scored on 78 yards, 71 yards, 36 yards, and 12-yard runs. Averaged the school record of 18.6 yards per carry that game, and helped contribute.
That's the school record?
Yeah.
18.6?
18.6 is what I heard in that game, in a single game.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, you did that. And also, you helped contribute in breaking the Big Sky and the school single game record with 554 yards. And on top of that, Big Sky Offensive Player of the Week.
Yep. That was an amazing week. That was a strange week in a way. Like, just leading up to that game, I just felt different. Something was weird. Now, I don't want to spend too much time getting into it, but it was almost in a way like I felt like something good was going to happen in a way, I didn't come into the game super duper hype. I didn't come into the game super duper low. I was just level. And I feel like when you level, that's when you perform the best. So that was a shocker. That was my first time actually getting that many carries. So, yeah, for that to happen, it kind of woke me up and reminded me who I am. I can play football. I can play this game.
So you're not lying to us? You didn't watch Rocky or Creed before the game, or what happened there?
No, I didn't watch Creed. I didn't watch Rocky. Honestly, I just feel like that was just the grace of God. Honestly, like I don't know. Like that, even after the game, I was just like, what just happened? Like getting on the bus. I said it to myself. Like I don't know what just happened, but nice,
Us fans, we're getting to see it from an outside perspective. We know what's going on, but from a player perspective, did you know that you were making history, or when was it that you just took a second and let it sink in that this is happening?
Honestly, like I still don't really think it kind of clicked. I understand what I did. I understand I, had a lot of yards and scored a lot of touchdowns in one game, but it still hasn't hit me of what took place. I guess simply because of, the things I was going through at Sac State, of not playing as much. And, it's just a mental battle of thinking like, okay, like I'm not playing here. Like, am I just not good enough for Division I football? Like, so that was a major wake up call, kind of like I said before, like just woke me up and said, listen, like you like that for real. Like you can play this game, you can play this sport, you can compete with the best of them. And when you get the ball, you make things happen. Yeah, I'm still kind of sinking it in sometimes, like just running it back in my head. And I guess, I don't know when it's going to click to where like, okay, that's what it is. But yeah, that game was crazy. I don't know what that was about.
Well, it was a good game to watch.
Wow.
And so when you came here to Montana State, did you think you would be able to make this level of contributions on a team that made it to the championship the year before?
Me being so humble and self-aware of the things that I say, I didn't really have much room to talk. I didn't play at Sac State that much. I didn't really contribute to a college team. I was just coming in ready to work, honestly. Like I was low-key trying to prove myself right. Yeah, I didn't really come in thinking that I guess you could say I was coming in to, earn a job and be that guy and just make plays. But I will say I didn't think it would be like this. I didn't think I would have this good of a season, if that makes sense. I'm not saying I was going to have a bad season or I didn't have faith in my ability to make, plays happen. But I didn't know it was going to be like this. Like you told me when I was in the transfer portal that I would, find a school, be on scholarship and score 4 touchdowns in one game and set records and stuff like that. And I wouldn't say he was lying, but probably just, appreciate it and keep moving and keep working, So, yeah, I'm just, every day I'm just trying to prove myself.
I know you're trying to be humble, and I know records ain't everything, but, I think those type of records just kind of prove to yourself. Do you feel after that game that you not only proved to the Bobcats, but also proved to yourself as a Division I athlete, like, I can do this, like, I'm a contributor now?
No, absolutely. I definitely think that game, even before that, I think my breakout game, or I won't say breakout, but my game to where I was able to prove to my teammates that I can make a play happen, I think was Morehead State. It was Morehead State, I believe, when I had 2 touchdowns on jet sweeps. And it was just jet sweeps, so I wasn't super ecstatic. I still realized that I had to prove myself, and we ended up playing Oregon State next week. I got the kick return touchdown.
That's right.
And I think that was when I was like, okay, like, I can kind of relax as far as I feel like these guys believe me. I feel like these guys see it, and they've been seeing it in fall camp and stuff like that. They can see I can play football, but it doesn't matter what you do in fall camp. At the end of the day, when 15 minutes on the clock, what are you doing then when the games count? So I would say Oregon State was when I felt like I had the respect of the team where I could say, like, I've contributed in some way. And then that Cal Poly game was kind of like the breakout game where, like, everybody took notice, not just my team, not just my teammates. Everybody, the entire conference was like, okay, like, this is what he's been saying. This is why he was so not cocky, but so confident in his ability. Like, it was, that was the game where I was able to show it.
And yeah, I wouldn't use the word cocky. I would say humble but confident.
Absolutely.
How are you able to separate not only individual goals but team goals?
That's a great question. Like I said, like, I wasn't playing that much at SAC, so I never really thought about individual goals. I was just trying to make plays happen. So I mean, as far as separating that, I feel like when you put the team first and you just do what needs to be done for the team to win, the stats come. So when I'm getting 13 carries a game and I'm trying to put the team first and just score every time I get the ball, those stats come. You see what I'm saying? So stuff like that, I feel like this is not too hard to separate. Everybody has their own personalities. Some guys come in and say, I'm trying to set records, which is a good thing because at the end of the day, if you're setting records, then hopefully you are helping the team win in some way. So I feel like that question is a good question as far as different personalities can answer, give you different answers and stuff like that. But for me personally, it's not hard at all to separate it. Just, do what the team needs and the stats will follow.
When I look at you guys, you guys had, some new faces, but you also had some old ones. And it looked like you had some new faces, but it looked like you guys really had a chemistry. When you have like a record-breaking team or you really start to pile up the wins, it feels like a lot of teams may get egos, but I didn't see that from you guys. So what do you guys put into it when it comes to team chemistry? What do you guys do?
That's a great question. I feel like there's some difficulty with me trying to answer that because I didn't really notice anything that we did that was just like, this is the reason why we have team chemistry. I think the guys that they recruit, they do a thorough job at recruiting certain individuals. Even my receiver coach, Justin Udy, he told me, like, when we was recruiting you, the fact that you took accountability for some of the mistakes that you made, which is the reason why you ended up transferring from Sacramento State, was good for us to hear. Those are the type of guys we want that can hold themselves accountable. And I think that's the biggest thing here at Montana State is that a lot of these guys that are here know what needs to be done. You don't have to tell them. At the end of the day, we young men, but we grown men at the end of the day on the field. So we all know what needs to be done. We know that we're held to a higher standard. We understand that we have to be disciplined in everything we do. So I think it's just the mindset of the people they recruit, honestly. I don't think it's necessarily any team bonding. Every team does that, Like every team around the country does that, but not every team has the type of chemistry that I feel like we have. So this is a special place, and I just feel like we mesh so well because they recruit kids that are similar, kids that are ready to make an impact, kids that are hungry, kids that can listen, kids that are able to be coached. And with me having some mess ups at Sac State, I was just able to be humbled. I was able to mature in certain ways and learn from my mistakes, I could say. So they just recruit humble guys, just recruit guys that can fit in and mesh with what they're trying to push and what they're trying to build here at Montana State.
And do you think that speaks volumes of Coach Vegan?
Absolutely, 100%.
And when Coach Vegan came in, people had some questions. Obviously, the Bobcats really had a great thing going, the streak going on with the Grizz and the Cats. But it seemed like Coach Vegan was able to not only implement his own system, it feels like it's really breaking grounds and continuing to grow. Mm-hmm. I mean, what would you say about Coach Vegan and how he leads the team?
His leadership is amazing. Just like I said, like just the guys that they have in his building and the women as well, like, with the training staff and the nutrition ladies. Everyone is bought into this program. There's not one person I've seen where it was just kind of like, I'm just here to get a check and I'm here to build my resume. Like everyone is bought in. So his leadership, the way he leads, his interaction with the players is genuine. He's just not trying to talk to you just to make it seem like, just check off the list like I was able to talk to this guy today, just to make it seem like he's around. Like he's definitely involved with the team, always checking it. He's involved with the workouts, just watching us, making sure everything is going well. So I feel like he leads by example. Some coaches kind of talk about it and you get them on campus and it's like a whole different story. But with Coach Vegan, his leadership is amazing, honestly.
And, Coach Schoten and Coach Vegan, I feel like they kind of complement each other. But this year is really Coach Vegan's system. Like a lot of the older guys are kind of starting to phase out. You're really starting to see Coach Vegan's plan go into place here. Mm-hmm. One of his types of styles is, you put ego aside, and he has a certain type of mentality.
Absolutely.
But going into not only that, I mean, this event here, everybody has these different types of goals, and everybody has team goals, individual goals, whatever. One goal that's been going on for hundreds of years is November 19th for all the wild. I mean, so, first time that College Game Day came to campus, as players, how exciting was that? Was it nerve-wracking at all, or how were you guys preparing?
It was super nerve-wracking for me, especially after the Cal Poly game. Like, they was asking about it, and I told them I was nervous. Low-key, I was trying to psych out Montana, so hoping that, okay, this guy's nervous, first ball of the wild, let's kick him the ball, not give opportunities. I think there was, low-key, some truth to that as well, that I was kind of nervous, like, not from a standpoint of, I guess you could say the game itself. Yeah, I was nervous about the game itself, just how big it was. Like, people really cares about it. So I think that's where the nervousness came from. Not necessarily the hype around the game, but more so I didn't want to disappoint the fans, if you could say that. I didn't want to let down my team, first and foremost. But the fans was really involved, and I was like, okay, like, I don't want to have to go to Safeway and, fans look at me and scoff because you did something idiotic in the game. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to be the guy that, made plays that day, and that's kind of where the nervousness came from.
It's the coach's job, to treat it like every other game. But come on, be real with us.
Oh, no,
it's not another game.
It wasn't. We was definitely trying to, it's just another game. Why would you, but can't, like, this is history. This is one of the oldest rivalries, and this is a good team, and especially in the state of Montana, like, there's no professional sports team, so this is pretty much all Montana has from a athletic standpoint, I guess you could say, to, teams to root for. So, yeah, like, it was, that game was the real deal.
You don't have to go into any specifics or game plan or anything, but how was Coach Vegan preparing you for this rivalry? Because obviously it was your first year going against this rivalry. Did you guys develop a certain mentality or a pregame, or how did you guys kind of get into the mental frame? Because you guys are ready right out of the gates.
Absolutely. No, like I said before, I think a lot of individual guys were trying to psych themselves out and say, it's just another game. But as a collective, as a team, as a staff, and we knew that this game wasn't just another game. So there was an energy on that practice field where, like, we need to be dialed in. And I kind of did want to say that because I don't want to give off the image that, or the I don't want to portray that we only lock in when it's time for this game. We take every game serious. It doesn't matter if we play at McNeese, Moorhead, Idaho State, UC Davis team. It doesn't matter who we play. We want to come out there and play our game. So, yeah, we was definitely trying to psych ourselves out in a way and treat it like another game, but there was an energy in that stadium when we was in practice. Like, we got to make something happen. Like, this is more than just a regular game. We all knew it.
And you hear about the rivalry. You told me yourself before the interview you had some former athletes come in and talk to you.
Yeah.
But when you took the field and you saw the crowd, you kind of saw this. What was going through your mind like about this rivalry? What did you learn?
I actually thought I was going to be nervous when it was actually time, to play football. Like, leading up to it, I'm always nervous, but when it comes down to suit up and, it's time for things to get, real, it's time to get active, I definitely kind of, get nervous a little bit because, it's time to go, like anybody does before a fight, whatever the case may be. You always get those butterflies because you want to perform well. But that game, I wasn't nervous at all, which is weird. I kind of felt weird because usually it's like if you're not nervous and you don't care. So I was like, okay, like, why am I nervous? Like, why am I not nervous? Why am I not? But I think the adrenaline was just so high. I was just ready to go. And then we got the ball first, and I'm like, okay, this is meant to happen because I didn't watch the Miracle Missoula documentary. I'm glad I didn't. I didn't watch that before the game, but I knew that there were certain memories and certain scenes that fans remembered. And I wanted to start off the game with, remember that year when the very first kick return, he took it back? So that's all I thought about. So I was ready to go. I just wanted to make a play and I guess, engrave my name in history.
You said that you didn't watch it before, but you watched it after, didn't you?
I watched it after. I actually watched it, I want to say a couple weeks ago. It was my first time watching it on YouTube. A couple weeks ago, which is months after, we played Montana. So it took me a while to finally sit down and watch it, but I'm so glad I didn't watch it before because after watching, I still got goosebumps. Like, I don't know if I would be able to function after watching that. Like, that was a great film to watch, and just seeing the history and how big of a game it is. Like, I knew how big of a game it was going in, but after seeing the film, it was like, oh my goodness.
And, you said that there's history involved with this, and you talked about how they kind of left their stamp. But I want to really talk about this specific thing that happened in the game, just to add some color on what happened here. Okay. When you guys were coming into the game, the statements were University of Montana won last year. They have the best rushing defense at the FCS. And I want to just add this for color. You guys finished with 439 rushing yards. And not only that, but your defense. That was another thing that people talked about. Complete dominance right there. So when it came to that, how special was it? So you guys ended up coming away with the 55-21 victory. When that final second, because I feel as a fan and as a player, it's not over until it's over. And when it came down, not only did you guys win the Brawl of the Wild that year, you guys are also Big Sky champions. Yeah. Take us through that when people were rushing the field. You guys realized that you guys won not only the Big Sky championship but also the Brawl of the Wild.
I think for the kids that was from Montana, the young men that was from Montana, I think they were able to take it in more than I was. Kids from out of town, young men from out of town. Excuse me. I was just on the field and just walking back to the locker room. Like I'm usually I don't really stand around too much. Like after the game, we do the chant and I kind of just go in the locker room, take my stuff off, celebrate with the teammates, of course. But I'm just kind of just going to the next game next week. We still got more work to be done. But walking back, that wasn't the first time that the fans rushed the field, but it was just so much energy after that game and just seeing everybody smile. Like it was a different type of smile. Like it was just like it was a great sight to see, to be honest. But we just kept our foot on the gas for all 4 quarters. We just didn't let up. I think that was, we can contribute that to the fans as well. Like the energy was crazy. Like any stop we got, it got loud. Sure, I'm pretty sure you remember Fonzie came in.
Yep.
And it got loud. Like just the support, like it was crazy. He came out of the game and they were still cheering loud, which is crazy. So the atmosphere was crazy. And these are the type of atmospheres I want to be in, like where fans are bought in, not just we make a big play and it's just kind of like a clap woo. Like they're really bought into this program. So it was good to get that W and of course win the Big Sky. That was cool as well. That was a goal. That was a goal of ours. Win the Big Sky, and then of course get to the Natty and beat the Grizz. So we got 2 of those. Fortunately, wasn't able to get the 3rd one done, but that's why we got another season. So we're looking to switch some things around and make some adjustments. But 2023 be coming for sure.
And because you're humble and you won't say it, before I move on to the next one, you also left your stamp on it. You scored during that game.
I did.
And how did it feel? Because you said you didn't want to let anybody down. When you scored and crossed that end zone, what's going through your mind?
Usually, things don't really register until I get onto the sideline from after I scored. But when I finally got a touchdown in that game, everything kind of came to, I guess you could say in a way. From the whole week, I'm like, okay, I don't want to make no mistake. I just want to, at least get a touchdown, contribute. I just didn't want to be a face that nobody remembered, because that's what they said. Like nobody remembers the random play that, we got to stop on 4th and 1 or whatever the case may be. They remember, touchdowns, and I guess you could say 4th and 1 stops where the game was on the line, stuff like that. But I'm glad I was able to actually score and say that I put up some points and I scored against the Grizz in the Cat Grizz game. That was cool for me, especially being out of town and I just wanted to contribute, and I guess I could call myself a Montanan.
Yeah. Adopted Montanan.
I
like that.
I participated in the rivalry. I scored a touchdown, so hopefully, and I'm fortunate enough to score plenty more. But after I scored that touchdown, it was like, okay, it finally happened. I celebrate. I usually don't celebrate. I usually just kind of run back and celebrate my teammates. But I kind of had I was feeling myself a little bit.
Of course.
I kind of felt wavy a little bit. So it was a good feeling.
I feel like not only is it bragging rights for the players, it's bragging rights for the fans, but I also kind of want to give a little bit of recognition to the offensive line. So how much do you credit this offensive line and Coach Armstrong when it came to this? I have to say dominance in terms of rushing.
No, that's a great way to put it, dominance. We was always dominant up front when it mattered, D'Andre Mafia is, what we call them.
Okay.
Those guys is a major part of our success, If they're not doing their job, then Tommy can't get the ball off. The running backs can't run. As you can see, we have a lot of success running the ball, throwing the ball, whatever needs to get done. It starts with them, I guess you could say. I give a lot of credit to D'Andre Mafia, especially Armstrong. Just his way to reach his players, attention to detail. Like he don't let none slip. He don't miss nothing. And then you got the D'Andre Mafia, holding themselves accountable, in practice. Come on, they yelling at each other, we gotta get this right. So just seeing that is that's the type of team I want to be a part of, where guys hold themselves accountable. Everybody's bought into the system.
Coming into this year, there was one returning starter from the year before, Justice Perkins. Completely new guys.
Yeah, for 30.
He's an animal. And I talked to Isaiah Fonse. I ran into him, and I asked him, I said, what do you think is the biggest contribution? Why are you guys so dominant in the running game? And he said, Coach Brian Armstrong, man, the offensive line. And, I'll be honest, when there was only one returning offensive lineman, you wonder, how's it going to turn out? And he said, don't worry about it. He said, they're going to do what they do. And I feel like, he was right. It's unbelievable the type of, season that they had and just what they did.
Yeah.
But, it's incredible. So I want to give a shout out to the offensive line because I feel like they don't get enough recognition. And I also, because I've never seen anything like that. That's insane.
Yeah.
In the past, between University of Montana and Montana State, there was a brief period of time to where, it was kind of whoever won Brawl of the Wild, that's the championship. That's the highlight.
Yeah.
But in these past few years, it seems like you guys started making some deep runs into the playoffs. I mean, the year before, you guys made it to the championship against North Dakota State. And this year, you guys made a really deep run, and you guys had some injuries. How would you say, the standard has changed in the past few years?
At this point, it's like, okay, at the end of the day, we always want to beat the Grizz. That's a major rivalry. So it's not like we just ignoring that game, but we have an opportunity to win a natty every year, especially with this team. Like you said, we got a lot of young guys, sophomores, guys that's going to be here for a couple more years. So that was a part of the national championship team. That was a part of last year's run to the semifinals. So yeah, no, we definitely understand that this is no longer a team that we just beat the Grizz and we win a couple games in the playoffs and then get beat by the Dakotas. Like at this point, it's time to get big, get strong, get faster. And execute, and we can make it happen. We're not looking at anything short of the national championship at all.
And I want to give a little bit of a tribute to the past as well. You guys had an amazing season, record-breaking, and it started a while ago. There was a brief period of time in between where the Bobcats made it to the championship and making it that deep. But it all kind of started with Coach Sonny Holland, and unfortunately, we had the passing of Coach Holland. And
rest in peace, Sonny Holland.
And could you talk about that, that moment in the playoffs when Coach Holland passed away, and you got to see you beat the Grizz one more time?
Yeah, that was special.
Could you talk about that? Because for those of you that weren't there, there was a tribute to his statue where a bunch of guys from that team talked about him, and then you guys obviously got to see the family members of Coach Holland. Could you talk to us about it?
No, yeah, that was a very special moment as far as when Sonny Holland was honored. But hearing about his passing was definitely a kind of stab in the heart. Especially he was alive when we was first introduced to him. As far as not first introduced to him, but when we went over the history of Montana State, his reign here. So getting to learn about him and seeing his statue out there is like he's just a big figure in this building. So when we got the news that he passed away, it wasn't pleasant at all, But it's definitely good that he was able to see us, beat the Grizz. But at the end of the day, nobody really cares about that. It's more so just the fact that we lost him was kind of that was tough. But I'm glad we was able to get that win. I'm glad we was able to go far. I hope we like I said, we trying to get a natty every year. I personally feel like going far isn't good enough.
Right.
We made it that. It hurt worse. I feel like the farther you go in the playoffs, the worse it hurts when you finally lose. So. That's a bitter taste in our mouth. So I feel like his legacy that he left here is going to continue on, is going to carry on. His teachings, his mentality, his philosophies and things like that, that's always going to be here in Montana State. So this program is definitely on the right path, forever, I feel like.
And so did you ever get to meet Coach Holland?
I did not, unfortunately, no, sir.
But he got to meet Coach Vegan and Coach Show.
Yep.
And did he ever talk about any stories about his time here at Montana State?
He did. Like I said, I've never met him personally. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet him or get to hear, how he, felt about football, how he felt about Montana State. Get to sit down with him and just talk football. That would have been a great opportunity. But no, Vegan went and met him, and they spoke, and Vegan kind of came back and told us about some of the things he said, and that's when we kind of all was, I guess, that was our time to get to meet him in a way. We didn't meet him in person, but we met him through Coach Vegan. I think that's where the emotional attachment came from, as far as, us all finding out about his passing. Like, a lot of guys didn't know about him, never met him, especially being from out of town. Like, you know who he is, but a name doesn't ring a bell until you get to meet them and get to hear their stories. So, hear about his passing, and that was horrible. But I'm glad we got a chance to at least get into his mind a little bit through Coach Vegan when he came and spoke to us.
I talked to some of the former players when I was there, and what they used to say was once a Bobcat, always a Bobcat. And he says, it's all about just moving it forward. And I feel like that game, so you had the tributes, the emotions were running high. But not only did you, have the emotions running high, but you had a playoff game to go to. How do you feel like you honored him in a way by just winning that game that night?
No, absolutely. I was that was one of the biggest things I was kind of worried about. I wouldn't say worried because at the end of the day we got to handle our business and the W will come. But that was one game where I was like, it was a home game.
Right.
We can't lose at home. Playoffs. It was just a lot at stake, but just this resilience from the team and just the energy in the building. I think he was definitely there when we won that game for sure.
And yeah, just rest in peace to Coach Holland and everything that he did. But, you guys carried on and you guys made it pretty deep in the playoffs. Obviously, you fell a little short than what you guys wanted to, but you also battled some injuries, in that game. Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit, just felt how much of an impact, some of the injuries had?
Anytime you lose a guy, it's always a major impact,
right.
Whether it's a third string, fourth string starter, doesn't matter. Anytime you lose a guy, it impacts the team in a way. But at the end of the day, it's next man up. And the way we run practices, the way the leadership is in the building, and we all know we're held to a higher standard, like I said earlier. So anytime we get injuries, it sucks, but we still got a playoff game to go, play. We still got further games that we need to get things done. So whoever's available, it's their time to carry the torch, I guess.
And, obviously it didn't go the way you wanted to, but it was still a very historic season, and there was a lot of emotions, ups and downs. And I feel like sometimes there's some beauty to that. But I'd also like to give tribute to some of the guys that graduated. Obviously, you guys had some very interesting and diverse amount of seniors. I mean, all the way from Jory Shote earning his first full ride, and, to some of the people like Ty Okada, some of these Willie Patterson, everybody. And I know there's a lot of guys, but too many to name. Do you feel like, how do you move forward? Because obviously you have some people that have been along the ride and the success, and some of these older guys are starting to graduate off. How do you feel going into next season with some of these guys graduating?
It's next man up. It's as simple as that, next man up. From a leadership standpoint, a lot of guys that left, especially with being seniors, were major contributors to our leadership from a player standpoint. So the only thing we're doing right now is anybody can be a leader. It's not just the next senior or guys that played last year. Even if you're an incoming freshman or a transfer, you have the opportunity to be a leader. Yeah, like I said, man, it's next man up. I feel like those are definitely some special guys that we lost, just going into the last year's eligibility, but we still got to carry that torch. Mm-hmm. When they was here, a lot of us was picking up on the way they led and how they spoke to players and how they spoke to the team as a whole. So we just got to pick up on that, try to mimic that in a way, and I guess we can throw our own little twist on it with our personalities, but we won't lose a step in leadership at all. We got a lot of guys that can fit that mold.
Yeah, and like you're saying, next man up, and it seems to be the common theme here at Montana State. You've seen it throughout the season, but also there's a few guys, that obviously that major impact. Coach Armstrong, he, moved up, and you got a new offensive line coach, and next man up. But I would also kind of like to say, with this new offensive line coach, Al Johnson, he's the new O-line coach. And how do you think it'll impact the run game going forward?
I don't think it's going to impact the run game at all. I haven't got a chance to speak with him super thoroughly to where I can kind of pick his brain on certain things and stuff like that. But I did get to meet him, and from the limited interaction that I had with him, is nothing's really changing. The mindset is still the same. Run the damn ball. So
I love it.
Yeah, no, we're going to be good.
For those of you that don't know, Al Johnson, he played center, I believe, or part of the offensive line for Wisconsin, and he's got a lot of experience. So for those of you that are listening in, I think there's a great amount of optimism, and I feel like he's right on that in terms of guys' play style. And I think you guys are in good hands.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to when you guys were on College Game Day, winning Brawl of the Wild, bringing in all this amount of success. How do you think that impacts recruiting?
This is a program that guys want to come to win. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like that definitely helped our recruiting, especially in the state of Montana. Like you said, the Brawl of the Wild divides houses. So you could be from Missoula, but at the end of the day, you might want to be on a team that wins more. So I feel like that win definitely solidified us to not, I guess, no longer be the little brother. I don't know if that's a thing in Montana. I want to start speaking on stuff I don't know nothing about, but I think it definitely put us on a Montanan radar as far as young athletes in the state of Montana that want to come in and play for a winning program, and then even kids out of state that see the success that we're having seeing the rivalry, seeing that, we come out on top a lot, and we make runs to the natty. A lot of schools say that we got opportunity to win a national championship and stuff like that. And I feel like sometimes that's just lip service. Like, I feel like when you come to Montana State, you take a visit here, and these coaches tell you that you've seen it for yourself.
Yeah.
You can pull up YouTube games and YouTube clips of games that we played and playoff runs, ESPN College Game Day. Like, the attention is here. This is a school that you can make it out of. I definitely feel like that game plays a part, but making those runs into the playoffs and stuff like that, that's what kids want to see, because everybody wants to ring. So.
And I'd like to talk a little bit about the new recruits that you got here. So you got some new recruits here, and they kind of come from all different walks of life. Could be FBS all the way down to D3.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak on some of these new guys, some of the new players that maybe people should watch out for, or what kind of stuff should we expect to see next season from some of these new guys?
No, absolutely. So, with me being a receiver, I've been able to, speak more with Lenyada Alexander. He was a transfer from, I believe, Washington University. And then Ty McCullough, who came from Colorado State. Like I said earlier, they recruit guys that fit the mold of what we're looking for, I guess, from a player standpoint, how we carry ourselves. And Yada is I love him. Like, he's a goofy character in a way, funny guy. But when it comes to football and just being on the field, I can see that he takes the sport serious. I'm picking up stuff from him already. Like, I'm trying to take releases from him, things that I feel like can make me better. So he's definitely a Bobcat at heart. And Ty as well. Like, he's more of a laid back, reserved, quiet dude, but he'll speak up if necessary, and that's the guy I'm talking about or referring to in a way. Earlier when I said next man up as far as the leadership is concerned, like, this is someone who just came in, never played a down from Montana State, but he's vocal, and a lot of guys respect him. So we got some other guys, Chance, a new quarterback, Blake, a new defensive back. A lot of these guys, just seeing their work ethic from workouts and player ran practices and stuff like that. Like I said, I don't feel like we're missing a beat at all. We got a lot of guys coming back, but even the new guys, we're going to have a lot of new faces, a lot of new contributors, and I think that's what's special about Montana State. It's always somebody new that's, going to pop out and make plays. So I think Bobcat Nation going to be excited once again, so.
And kind of going back to you here, there's going to be some changes in positions for you as well. If you don't mind, I'd also like to just give a thank you and a shout out to Isaiah Fonse, obviously.
Absolutely.
I feel like, obviously he's moving on, but for those that are listening, I think we should be thankful for what he's done,
100%.
and give him some respect on that. So we'd like to thank him for his contributions, but at the end of the day, next man up.
Yeah.
And so we got a bunch of new guys in the running game, wide receiver. So what should we expect to see next year in terms of that? And from you,
for me, I'm finishing returns,
Okay.
So it won't be any slipping, at the 10-yard line and stuff like that. Like, I'm just trying to, watch some old film from games, and even before this interview, I had to talk with, one of my coaches, and about making some cut ups and looking at some guys that finish return as well, like Devin Hester and stuff like that. Just getting into a I guess trying to read their minds and what do they see, just watching film and trying to get better. So that's what y'all can expect from me. Just I feel more comfortable in this offense. I feel more comfortable in this team. I feel more comfortable in this state. So I'll play more relaxed. Like I said, just finishing plays and scoring. But as far as the team as a whole, I feel like you can almost kind of expect the same thing. But at the end of the day, better execution. We fell short, and that came down to not being able to execute when it mattered most. So we definitely had some new additions, but I'm not saying that you guys should expect anything super out of the ordinary. It's going to be the same, running the ball down team strokes. And if we got to throw the ball deep, somebody going to go up and make a play, and just scoring a lot, So I kind of wanted to spice it up a little bit, it's just, I guess, our offense is already exciting as it is with the options and just the different players, the speed from the quarterbacks, the receivers all the way down to the O-line, the running back. So the defense as well. So I'm trying to, make it sound as amazing as possible, but it's almost the same thing as last year, with just better execution and finishing and getting that national championship.
So also another thing, it's a little frustrating for this because someone as diverse as you, we don't know where you're going to end up. So without giving anything away, if you can offer anything, so we know that there's a good chance you're going to be back to kick returning, but also are you going to be back at wide receiver, running back? What's going on here, Marquis? What's going on for next season?
I think it'll kind of be the same in a way as far as, different personnels and stuff like that. The plan right now is to have me back at, slot receiver. And with me having that experience, in the backfield, they can motion me back and play with me in that way. and utilize me that way. But yeah, as of right now, I'll be back in the slot receiver position, which will be cool. That's where I am when the season starts. I guess get to show my receiver abilities to Bobcat Nation. But as of right now, I'm at slot receiver. But honestly, I don't really feel like I have a set position. I was able to play running back. I was able to play kick return. I was able to play slot receiver. So just having all of those different skill sets is just molding me into just an athlete. So wherever they need me, I'm gonna be at. So yeah, I guess in that regard, I'll be at receiver for spring ball. But moving forward, I can play it all. So I don't want to just necessarily say this is what I don't want to necessarily say this is what I am. Yeah, I don't want to limit myself.
And, you heard him, guys. I mean, we can't keep tabs on him. You never know where he's going to be. I mean, as a fan, you want to know what's going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen. But I guess one thing that's reassuring is it keeps the opponents guessing as well. But I guess for the final segment of this Bobcat special, which thank you for joining me, is there anything you would like to say, to family, friends, teammates, opponents? What do you got to say for next year?
First and foremost, I want to thank God just for that opportunities that I've been getting, this previous season. So just moving forward, I just want to, stay healthy, be able to, contribute to my team. I want to thank my father. He played a big part in even just helping me, move out here and, stuff like that, and help me with my decision and, figure out where I wanted to go. So, with his patience and his understanding of what I was facing and what I was dealing with, I was able to make a comfortable decision. I want to thank the staff for even giving me opportunity. Mind you, I didn't really play that much at Sac State. I didn't have much game film. I only had practice film. A lot of coaches don't want to take a chance on you. So for them to kind of, believe in me and reach out to Jason Mons and get a feel for him as who I am as a player, that was special. So I want to thank the staff. And to the fans, I want to thank them for just taking me in, coming in as a new player, especially into this type of atmosphere. It can be nerve-wracking in a way, but just the support, even off campus and going out and, having Bobcat gear on and the fans just, welcoming me and speaking and being polite, stuff like that is definitely appreciated. So that's the type of stuff that makes you want to go out and consider the fans. A lot of players will say, well, I don't care about the fans. They're not out there on the field and stuff like that. But this is a special place. This is a different place. This is a different scenario. With the support from the fans and the state as a whole and Bobcat fans, it makes it easier for us to do our job, when we know that these fans aren't just going to bash us if we make a mistake. They always ride with us. So even after we fell short, a lot of fans voiced their opinions on, what went wrong and stuff like that. But it was always, I'm still a Bobcat and stuff like that. And that's the type of stuff we appreciate. So with that type of support, there's no way we can fail,
For this special, Marquis, took time out of his day to meet with me and just kind of reflect on this season. So a big thanks to him on just giving us some information, because as fans, we only get what we can get. So a big thank you to Marquis Johnson. For those of you that are going to be going to the games next year, listening on the radio, watching on TV, look out for Marquis Johnson, because when I saw him at the beginning of this season, I said, this guy is going to be special. I said it on here. I claimed it. He's an adopted Montanan. He's a star in the making, folks. So thank you again for joining me, Marquis. I appreciate it, and best of luck next year.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me, for real. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into another edition of Familiar Faces. I'd also like to give a special thanks to our guest, Marquis Johnson, as well as our producers, Backwood Menace and Seth Torgerson.